I traveled back to when Jiang K was still a poor boy. In the dimly lit rented room, the young man held a knife to his wrist. That year, his family went bankrupt, and his parents were driven to jump off a building. The rented room was damp and dark, and Jiang K had no intention of living, until the next second. I pushed open the door with my pregnant belly in my hands, calling out to him timidly, "Honey." The memory froze at the moment Jiang K found out I was pregnant. The usually gloomy and cold man stood frozen in place, like a helpless child. After a long while, he finally pulled me into a tight embrace. His eyes red, he whispered tenderly, "Darling, I'm so happy." There was no trace of the decisive, ruthless demeanor he displayed in business. In the 3rd year of my marriage to Jiang K, I became pregnant with his child, but before I could even rejoice, I found myself transported with my pregnant belly. I traveled back to the year when Jiang K was 19. Back then, Jiang K wasn't the unyielding CEO of the company, but a penniless young man, the kind who lived in a rented room and survived on steamed buns every day. At 27, the mature and steady Jiang K once mentioned that period of time to me. All the family's money was swindled away, not a penny left. My parents couldn't face reality and jumped off a building. At that time, Jiang K held me by the waist, his chin resting on my shoulder. His tone was utterly calm. "But it's all in the past now." Jiang K said it with such nonchalance. I remember once when he took me out on a date in his car. We passed by some rundown apartment buildings. Pointing at one of them, he stared at me and said, "I used to live in there. It was miserable." At that time, I only took it as a joke. I didn't respond, but after crossing over, when I actually stood before that dilapidated house with peeling walls, only then did I realize that Jiang K's description of it as miserable was still an understatement. I knocked on several doors but couldn't find Jiang K, until I saw a slightly ajar door. The flickering lights in the old residential building made the iron door appear even more dilapidated. I reached out and pushed the door open. The door creaked and groaned. It was utterly chilling. In the tiny rented room, a frail and youthful figure huddled in the corner. He was clutching something in his hand. The room was dark and dim without any lights on, making it hard to see clearly. I stepped inside and caught a whiff of dampness. My hand instinctively covered my stomach. I opened my mouth and timidly called out to him, "Honey, is that you?" The figure stood up. The light was switched on, glaringly bright. After a moment, I heard the boy's hoarse, youthful voice demanding, "Who are you?" Opening my eyes, I saw a tall, slender figure in a black t-shirt standing before me. His sharp, handsome features and deep-set eyes still carried a hint of youthful innocence. I let out a sigh of relief. Though still youthful and somewhat naive, I could tell it was my Mr. Jiang. At 18 or 19, an age that should be bright and radiant, he appeared dull and faded, carrying an air of gloomy lifelessness. My nose instantly stung with tears. He clutched his stomach and threw himself into his embrace. "Jiang K, at 19, how could you be so thin?" Clang, something fell to the ground. Glinting sharply, he released the small knife from his hand. Jiang K pulled me away with a cold expression. "Do I know you?" He looked up at me, his dark eyes filled with confusion and irritation. "Of course I know you. We know each other all too well. So well that we even have a child together." Before I could finish, Jiang K's frown deepened. It was then that I remembered the person standing before me wasn't the 27-year-old Mr. Jiang, my husband of 3 years, but it was the 19-year-old Jiang K, who didn't know me at all. Hearing this, I reached out to him, my lips curving into a smile. "It's not too late to get to know each other now." "Hello, 19-year-old Jiang K, I'm Song Mang, Mang as in radiant, your future wife." Jiang K just darkened his gaze and muttered under his breath, "You're insane." Then he pushed me out, staring at the wide-open iron gate. It seemed like something had occurred to him. Frowning, he asked me, "How did you get in here?" I blinked at him. "You didn't close the door." "I definitely closed it." "You really didn't close the door." Jiang K coldly interrupted me. "Whether I closed the door or not, please leave my house." I stared at him pitifully, but he turned a blind eye and shut the door behind him. "Jiang K, it's so dark outside." "Jiang K, I really am your future wife. What will it take for you to believe me?" The soundproofing in the rental apartment was practically non-existent. Through the door, I heard Jiang K say helplessly, "Shut up." he showed absolutely no intention of opening the door. The hallway was quite dark. I patted the door and said pitifully, "Honey, open the door for me. It's so dark out here." The response I got was a cold, "No," but the next second, the iron door creaked open. I abruptly found myself locking eyes with Jiang K, who was sitting on the single bed. "Oh, turns out the door was broken. Honey, the door's open, then I'm coming in." Jiang K looked helpless as he went to block the door. I very naturally sat down in the spot where he had just been sitting. Apart from a small metal-framed single bed, the rented room had almost nothing else. Jiang K used a wooden stool to barricade the door. Then, with arms crossed, he walked up to me. "Just who exactly are you?" I gently rubbed my belly. "Your wife, Song Mang, of course." Seeing Jiang K's expression growing increasingly grim, I quickly spoke up. "Honey, don't be angry yet. I can prove it. Your birthday is November 20th, you're 19 this year, and when you were 3 years old." Jiang K furrowed his brows, as if he didn't believe a word of it. "Looks like I'll have to say something shocking. Wait, I know you have a mole on the inner side of your left thigh, and also, you're still a virgin." Jiang K froze for a moment, then coldly cut him off. "Enough, shut up." I grabbed the hem of his clothes. "Do you believe me now?" 19-year-old Jiang K seemed to be deep in thought. I took the opportunity to wrap my arms around his waist. "Honey, why are you so thin? Haven't you been eating properly?" The young man trembled for a moment. He said coldly, "None of your business," but the rims of his lower eyelids quietly turned red. His family's assets were seized, the household went bankrupt, and both parents jumped to their deaths. 19-year-old Jiang K experienced all this in a short span of time. How long had it been since he'd had a proper meal, and how long since anyone had shown him any care? I nuzzled against him and quietly put away the folding knife under his pillow. His tone was serious. "Honey, I'm here. I'll always be with you from now on. Don't call me honey." Jiang K pushed me away, avoiding my burning gaze. "Then what should I call you? Brother K, baby, darling?" The young man pursed his lips, his ears turning red. "Just call me Jiang K, okay, husband." Jiang K gave the single bed to me. Before going to sleep, I held my stomach and looked at Jiang K. "Jiang K, I'm hungry." Jiang K froze in place. He clenched his fists and said helplessly, "Right now, there's no food in the house." It was indeed getting late. At 19, Jiang K was penniless. I pursed my lips. "Fine." Jiang K seemed to let out a sigh of relief. The next second, I added, "I just wonder if the baby in my belly can hold on until tomorrow." I sighed while holding my stomach as I spoke. "Are you pregnant?" Jiang K's brows furrowed tightly. "Yeah, it's yours, mine, to be precise. It was done by the 27-year-old you, but the child is also yours." Jiang K closed his eyes and remained silent. Jiang K sighed. "Honey, do you want to feel the baby?" Jiang K took a few flustered steps back. "No need." After thinking for a long time, Jiang K made an excuse to leave the house. Watching his retreating figure, I raised an eyebrow. Although Jiang K's family had gone bankrupt, they had once been prosperous. They had helped many relatives, and quite a few still owed the Jiang family money to this day. 19-year-old Jiang K had no intention of living, let alone reclaiming that money. But I can't stand it. Those relatives who kicked him when he was down, not a single one offered to repay the money after Jiang K's parents died. Isn't it just because they think Jiang K is an easy target as a child? They owe Jiang K, and they must pay it back. An hour later, Jiang K returned, covered in dust. He was still holding a steaming bowl of seafood porridge. "Eat up, honey, try it and see if it's still too hot." After feeding Jiang K a few bites as an excuse, he pursed his lips and refused me. "Pregnant women need nutrition, you should eat more yourself." I noticed his complexion had improved, not as pale as before, so I focused on eating. Actually, I was only 3 months pregnant, with just a little extra flesh around my abdomen, but I still clutched my stomach and asked, "Baby, is the seafood porridge Daddy bought delicious?" Jiang K's face turned red, then pale, then dark. After a long pause, he finally said in a hoarse voice, "Don't call me that randomly." I chuckled lightly. "Husband, you really are the baby's father, even though you're still a virgin now." Jiang K covered my mouth. "Don't talk while eating." I took the opportunity to kiss his palm. His face turned even redder. "Pervert." Before bed, I asked Jiang K. Only one family today, right? How many more to go? In the darkness, I couldn't make out Jiang K's expression, but I could hear the slight surprise in his voice. How did you know? Of course I know. After all, I'm your future wife. Jiang K fell silent. I yawned. Honey, don't you trust me? I'm not lying to you. A tall, slender young man lay on the ground. After a long while, he finally sighed. I believe you. After all, there's nothing left about me worth deceiving. The rental apartment was quiet. After a while, I propped myself up and asked, Jiang K, are you asleep? Jiang K seemed to have already fallen asleep. I pitifully shook him awake. Honey, I can't sleep without you holding me. Only then did the young man open his eyes, his gaze clear yet helpless. Jiang K ultimately climbed into bed. I let him hold me, his body stiff as a board, hold my waist tighter. After saying that, I fell into a deep sleep. The next day, I woke up groggily. Jiang K's hands held me tightly like iron rods, something hard pressed against my waist, and I instinctively made a sound. Honey, why didn't you take off your belt before sleeping? After a long while, watching Jiang K get up from the bed with reddened ears, I finally realized what had happened. This is 19-year-old Jiang K. He doesn't use a belt. The rented room doesn't have a private toilet. Jiang K went to the shared bathroom for a while. When he returned, his ears weren't as red as before. The young man's black hair was disheveled, his skin fair, his hands were damp, as if freshly washed. I stared at him with a grin. He looked away awkwardly. I was just going to wash up. Oh. A 19-year-old boy has strong urges. I understand. Honey, can I help you with that? I haven't seen the 19-year-old Xiao K yet. Hearing this, Jiang K blushed so hard that even his knuckles turned pink, yet he could only helplessly say, don't talk nonsense. Jiang K went out to buy breakfast. On the way back, he even bought some necessities for me. I was eating xiaolongbao while staring at Jiang K, who was munching on a steamed bun beside me. He sensed my gaze and paused mid-chew. What's wrong? 19-year-old Jiang K still had some baby fat on his cheeks. Unlike the mature and steady Jiang K at 27, he was adorably innocent, a side of him I'd never seen before. I want to kiss you, Jiang K choked. Ahem. I reached out to pat his back. He refused me with righteous indignation. You can't. All right. He seemed surprised that I gave up so easily, opening his mouth as if to say something but ultimately remaining silent. He silently nibbled on half a steamed bun, as if sulking. After finishing the last soup dumpling, I patted my stomach and asked, really not allowed? I really want to kiss you. Jiang K stood to the side, curling the corner of his mouth, yet let out a cold, light cough. Fine then. I sat on the bed, amused by him. 19-year-old Jiang K. How can he be so adorable? I thought Jiang K's kiss would be as innocent as he is now, but I never expected it to be so fierce. Even fiercer than 27-year-old Mr. Jiang. He closed his eyes, pressing his dry lips roughly against mine. No skill, just pure emotion. He clutched at the hem of my clothes, like a drowning man grasping at his last lifeline. After a long while, he let me go. In a low voice, he asked, do you want another kiss? I pressed my lips together and shook my head. I've seen Mr. Jiang at 27, full of ambition yet reserved and humble. So when I saw the disheveled and downcast Jiang K before me, my first instinct was heartache. At 19, Jiang K had nothing left. He satisfied me and treated me well, but it was only because he wanted to keep me, the only person who appeared by his side. Jiang K, I won't leave you. You never have to worry about Song Mang leaving, so don't force yourself. I don't want you to please me. I'm here to love you. With reddened eyes, I hugged him. The boy carried a faint scent of soapberries. It was clean and comforting. Jiang K lowered his eyes, hiding the fragile emotions within. He reached out and gingerly touched a strand of my hair. Will you really not leave? He asked softly. Someone passed by outside, their heavy footsteps drowning out Jiang K's words before I could hear them clearly. I hugged his waist tightly. What did you say? It's nothing. Jiang K went out to collect debts. Before leaving, he told me to stay home and behave. I sat idly on the bed. In a daze, I fell asleep and dreamed of Mr. Jiang. I met Jiang K the year I graduated. That year, I was 22, and Jiang K was 24. The moment we met, Jiang K pursued me with intense fervor, for 3 years of marriage. Jiang K has always treated me well, I remember on our wedding night. He gazed at me with profound eyes, his tone tender and lingering. From now on, you must call me husband, I shyly called out. The usually composed man had tears of laughter in his eyes. That night, he tormented me relentlessly until midnight. While exerting himself, he called out to me with a voice full of grievance, "Wife, wife." I called out many times. I grabbed his hand as if pleading for mercy, caressing the scar on his wrist. "Husband, spare me, please." But the word husband only excited him more. The rest is a blur. I only remember his hair felt a bit prickly, my lower abdomen tingled with an itch. I never quite figured out how the upright and composed Mr. Jiang learned all these things. I woke up, drenched in sweat, opening my eyes. I saw Jiang K standing with his arms crossed, glaring at me coldly. Did I talk in my sleep just now? I suddenly felt a bit guilty. "Honey, you're back." Jiang K took off his black coat. His expression was cold and indifferent. "I told you, don't call me husband, call me Jiang K. But my husband is Jiang K." Jiang K gave me a fleeting glance. "I don't like it when you call me husband." I had no choice but to obediently call him Jiang K. His expression finally softened a little. "Husband, Jiang K, I need to use the restroom. Public restrooms aren't safe." Jiang K insisted on staying with me to feel at ease. The bathroom was small and dark, outside the door. Jiang K calculated the balance in his bank card, silently pondering something. Not long after, Jiang K moved us to a new place. He managed to get some money back and took me to move into a rental with a private bathroom. The place wasn't great, but it was much better than the previous one. A small bed, a tiny sofa. There was also a window where sunlight could come in, unlike the damp and dim place we used to live in. Jiang K tidied everything up and had me sit on the sofa. He, on the other hand, was fiddling with the folding table and chairs. I watched his busy figure, and suddenly, a part of my heart softened. Actually, that house was more than enough for Jiang K. Moving to a new apartment was all because of me. "Jiang K, you're so kind." The figure crouching on the ground paused for a moment, then continued with the busy work. "By the way, Jiang K also bought an induction cooker. He said he wanted to cook for me. He can eat takeout. But it's not good for a pregnant woman to always eat takeout." After finishing his work, Jiang K went out to buy groceries. I went to take a shower and habitually put on Jiang K's clothes. The oversized white t-shirt barely covered my thighs. When Jiang K returned, this was the scene he saw. The young man was tall and slender, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist, wearing a very ordinary black hoodie, with a youthful innocence about him. His nose bridge is tall and straight, with well-proportioned bone structure. His peach blossom eyes are beautiful and captivating, exuding an aloof aura. His expression is indifferent, just seeing my exposed legs. His long eyelashes trembled involuntarily. Holding the groceries, he unconsciously tightened his grip. "Why are you wearing my clothes?" Force of habit, he deliberately averted his gaze. I'll go cook first." His tone was somewhat hurried, as if fleeing in panic. At 19, it was the age of innocence. I slipped on my slippers and followed him. I wrapped my arms around his waist from behind. Jiang K's body stiffened instantly. "Get out. I want to stay with you." His hands hung limply at his sides, fingers clenched weakly, his ears already burning red. "Get out, now." I was about to ask why when a glance downward made everything clear. Xiao K stood up. Oh, under my gaze, Xiao K straightened up even more. Jiang K let go of my hand and covered my eyes. The voice was hoarse yet magnetic. "Very pleasant to hear. Get out quickly, I beg you." Begging me won't help. I held Jiang K's hand and spoke earnestly. "Jiang K, let me help you." "Okay." At the dining table, Jiang K was feeding me, spoonful after spoonful. I sighed helplessly. "I can eat by myself." Jiang K merely lowered his eyes and said softly, "Your hands are dirty." I touched my lips with my hand and smiled at him. "No, they're not." Jiang K stared at me, pressing his lips together without a word. He's secretly standing at attention again. Jiang K started feeling shy. Every morning, he would quietly get up to take cold showers, afraid I might notice certain reactions and pester him into doing naughty things again. I advised him not to, but he covered his crotch and avoided me. "How could you be so?" After washing for several days, unsurprisingly, he developed a fever. The boy's face was flushed red, his eyes weary as he lay in bed. I touched his forehead and was startled by the heat. "You were told not to take cold showers." He burrowed into the blanket to avoid me, saying, "Don't touch me, I don't want to pass it to you." Looking at the lump under the covers, I couldn't help but feel amused. I sighed helplessly. "Fine, I won't touch you." I turned around to make some porridge. During the meal, Jiang K was also afraid of infecting me. He ate alone in the corner of the room, watching his tall figure crouched in the corner, pitifully eating plain porridge. I couldn't help but chuckle. She comforted him, saying, "It's not contagious, I have strong immunity. After all, both the baby and I have been well taken care of by Jiang K." Jiang K remained silent, pulling up the hood of his black sweatshirt. He lowered his eyes to sip the porridge, his expression unreadable. After finishing the meal, Jiang K still avoided me. When I woke up from my afternoon nap, he even put on a mask, curling up in a ball as if giving up on himself. A guy over 6 feet tall looked utterly pitiful. I couldn't bear to watch, so I walked over. "Jiang K, have you taken your medicine?" The person under the covers froze for a moment, then after a long pause, whispered, "I did." The words came out quickly, as if afraid I'd noticed the choked tone in his voice. "You're crying, why?" Jiang K fell silent again. I pulled back the blanket and found him crying with reddened eyes. Each tear was unusually large. Those who are ill are especially fragile. I patted Jiang K's back, and he cried even harder, curled up on my lap, his tears soaked through my jeans. I kept comforting him, only then did he speak between sobs. "I don't want you to get infected, it's all my fault." I ruffled his hair. "And what else?" Jiang K tightened his arms around my waist. "And also, could you please not leave me? I dreamed that you disappeared, that you didn't want me anymore." Jiang K's hair was very fluffy, like soft fur. The way he looked now was like a pitiful little puppy. I gently pinched his earlobe with my fingers and whispered, "The baby and I won't get infected, really. And also, I won't abandon you, Jiang K. I love you. If you keep crying, I'll tell our baby that his dad is a crybaby." Hearing this, he looked up with reddened eyes and whispered softly, "I'm not crying." After a long pause, he reached out, slowly and carefully touching my abdomen. His fingertips trembled, because it had been pressed down by the hat for so long. Jiang K's bangs were slightly curled, his skin was pale, with a straight nose and thin lips. Her beautiful eyes were now staring at me intently. "She told me not to tell the baby that his dad is a crybaby." "Okay." I became intrigued. "Then call me sister." He pursed his lips and whispered, "Sister." My ears turned red involuntarily. "So thrilling, big sister. Please don't tell him, okay?" My heart was racing wildly. September was gradually growing colder. Jiang K started preparing dietary plans for me: milk, fish balls, a variety of options, many different kinds. The expenses gradually increased, and Jiang K started earning money, leaving early and returning late. But every morning when I opened my eyes, there was a cup of hot milk and a well-balanced breakfast waiting for me. There is always prepared food in the refrigerator, just heat it up. In the evening, Jiang K would rush back on time, and as soon as he entered the house, he would make porridge for me. Ever since I accidentally broke a plate and cut my hand a few days ago, Jiang K has been making a special trip back at noon. That night, I watched Jiang K's busy figure with a heart full of pain. At just 19, Jiang K was still a child himself, yet he had to raise a baby and take care of me. This was something the 27-year-old, accomplished Jiang K should have been doing. He really got to enjoy all the blessings. My heart ached terribly. "Jiang K, hug me." When I said this, Jiang K was wearing a small apron, his back turned to me as he busied himself with pots and pans. Hearing this, he turned around and put down the spatula. He bent down and pulled me into his embrace. No longer just the scent of soap, but also my own fragrance lingers on him, intertwined together. It's the aroma of happiness. "You've worked hard." I bury myself in his embrace, nuzzling against his shoulder. He pursed his lips and whispered softly, "Not hard at all. All right, I'll go check on the porridge." Jiang K reached out and gently patted my head. I playfully tugged at the corner of his clothes. "Stay with me a little longer." The young man wore a white shirt, his skin fair. His slightly tousled black hair gave him a lazy, homely look. He leaned in slightly, his brows lowered, long lashes casting faint shadows. His gaze was intense and lingering as he looked over. I'll be quick, sis, please. Ever since he found out I liked hearing him call me sis, Jiang K started calling me that from time to time. It's just too unfair. He's doing it on purpose. At the dinner table, I inquired about Jiang K's progress in starting his business. From what I recall, Jiang K earned his first pot of gold around the age of 20. It was an opportunity seized by riding the wave of the rapidly developing internet boom. By the time he was 24, he had already become the somewhat renowned President Jiang in the industry. I encouraged him while eating. Jiang K's future will be brilliant, shining brightly. As I spoke, I made a radiant gesture. Jiang K simply kept putting food in my bowl, lowering his eyes to ask, in the future, when did we meet? You were 24 years old. Back then, you were successful in your career, had a lot of money, and lived in a very big house. Jiang K curved his lips slightly. Yes, but I wish it could have been even earlier. Compared to others, Jiang K's rise to wealth was already considered quite rapid. I asked him, why is that? Yet he reached out to wipe away a grain of rice from the corner of my mouth. The slightly calloused pad of his finger pressed against the corner of my lips. Gentle and slow, I was marveling at how Jiang K, at 19, had finally learned to be charming, yet I noticed his gaze remained fixed on the corner of my lips, intense and focused. He curled his lips slightly, smiling with sincerity and innocence, as if wiping my mouth clean was something truly worth being happy about. The next second, I heard his reply, I want you to live in a big house sooner. My heart trembled and melted into a puddle. Jiang K, how can you be so good? The weather has turned cold. One day, Jiang K was unusually not out working. It was during the midday break, and he was sleeping soundly with his eyes closed. I nestled in his arms, tracing my fingertips over his clean, unblemished wrist, kissed instinctively when emotions ran deep. Actually, I once asked Mr. Jiang how he got the scar on his hand. At that time, Mr. Jiang had just returned home, and hearing this, the weariness between his brows vanished instantly. His deep eyes shone like stars. He held me in his arms and whispered, it's a very, very long story. When I was 19, my family went bankrupt. My parents chose to escape reality and left me behind. I lived alone in a terrible, terrible rented room. It was dusk, and the sky was growing dark. I picked up a small knife and pressed it against my wrist. As he spoke, Jiang Kwang gazed into my eyes, as if searching for something. Yet all I could do was stare with heartache at the scars on his wrist. His breath hitched for a moment, but quickly steadied again. He murmured softly, and then, I cut. After all, being alone was just too dull. I held his hand and whispered softly, but you have me now. Jiang K wrapped his arms around me, carefully touching a strand of my hair, and said, wife, I've always had you. Snapping back to reality, the 19-year-old Jiang K drowsily opened his eyes. Seeing me curl my lips, he asked softly, what are you thinking about? I just kissed his wrist again, said, so good, I feel your pain and want to help you through it. So, there are no more scars on your wrist. I'm so happy. The weather has turned cold, and my emotions have become very unstable. I started losing my appetite, becoming picky with food, and experiencing morning sickness. Jiang K bought a newly released desktop computer on the market to take care of me. He began working from home, keeping an eye on the computer and also on me, though multitasking. He managed both exceptionally well, but I wouldn't let him rest easy. Often, in the middle of his work, I'd make him go buy me the fruits or snacks I craved, yet when Jiang K actually brought them back, I wouldn't even take a single bite, panting heavily, before he could even catch his breath. Jiang K would come to coax me, sister, what's wrong with you? I pushed him away and curled up under the covers, not wanting to say a word. Jiang K tapped on the keyboard while trying to coax me. He had been very busy lately. Sometimes, even when I woke up in the middle of the night, I could still see him staring at the computer screen. This morning when I got up, he cooked for me, and I noticed faint dark circles under his eyes. Jiang K went out to buy me fruit 3 times today. Yet I didn't eat any of it. He kept pestering me, asking what was wrong. I even snapped at him, you're so annoying. He didn't utter a single complaint, just held me in his arms. Suddenly, I felt like crying, for no apparent reason. my emotions spiraled out of control, and tears began to fall. Jiang K is only 19 years old this year, but I couldn't control my emotions. Sister, what's wrong with you? Jiang K's hands were very warm, and because they were calloused. He wiped my tears with the back of his hand. I want to tell Jiang K that I don't want it like this, but I feel so agitated inside, so I push his hand away and turn my back to him. I hate you so much. You're so annoying. I hate you. I lost my temper again. A pair of hands gently wrapped around my waist. It's all my fault for making Song Mang feel so upset. Sister, if you're feeling upset, just hit me. Actually, I don't blame him, and I really like children myself. I wiped away my tears. I won't hit you. Jiang K picked me up. His features were handsome, his bone structure well proportioned, giving off an air of aloofness and nobility, yet the words that came out of his mouth were utterly shameless. If you don't hit me, I'm going to kiss you. What a lunatic. I cursed in my heart, but after being kissed by him, I did feel less irritable. After Jiang K kissed me, his ears turned red, but that's normal. This was his first kiss. He wore a black hoodie, his dark hair tousled. Yet his skin was a cool porcelain white. The stark contrast between black and white made him strikingly eye-catching. His beautiful peach blossom eyes were tinged with a hint of desire, the corners dusted with a delicate pink. Now, his lips glistened with moisture, and his breathing was slightly unsteady. You look incredibly sexy. I grabbed the drawstring of his hoodie and pulled him back toward me. Let me taste your tongue a little longer. He smiled helplessly, a hint of shyness in his expression. Okay. At night, I curled up on the sofa watching TV. Jiang K stared at the computer screen, seemingly deep in thought. I thought he was looking up something work-related, but when he crouched by the bed and offered to help me, I was stunned. Yet he looked so serious that I couldn't even question him. Sis, I read online that pregnant women can have needs too. You've been so irritable lately. Is it because of that? I checked. As long as it's not too intense. It's perfectly safe at your current stage. Was this still the same shy and innocent Jiang K? I was somewhat surprised, and just as I snapped out of my daze, I saw Jiang K silently grasp my ankle. His cold, pale, slender fingers easily encircled it, sending a cool sensation that made me shiver slightly. Wait, how are you going to help me? Jiang K instinctively licked his lips, his gaze meeting mine with an unusually serious expression. My stomach stung a bit, and I instinctively hissed in pain. Jiang K looked up with a pitiful expression. Sister, I'm sorry, yet his eyes were clearly brimming with amusement. As he spoke, his lips glistened. I sighed helplessly and looked up at the ceiling. Suddenly, I fully grasped the meaning of the phrase, mutual aid. After helping, I lazily lay on the bed and fell asleep. When I woke up in the middle of the night, Jiang K had tucked his head into the crook of my neck, his hair fluffy, and I instinctively gave it a gentle ruffle. But I noticed Jiang K frowning in his sleep, his breathing heavy. I smoothed out the furrow in his brow. I heard his faint murmurs, Dad, Mom. He jolted awake. I froze for a moment, then hugged him tightly and whispered in comfort, It's all over. It's all over now. I'll always be here for you from now on, and so will our baby. Jiang K didn't speak, but my neck felt damp. With Jiang K's help, I do feel much better now, but lately, I've been feeling increasingly drowsy. My hand unconsciously touches my belly. Am I about to go back? As I was lost in thought, the sound of chopping came from the kitchen. Lately, my taste has been quite changeable. Sometimes I crave sweets, other times I want something extremely sour. But there's one dish I never tire of. Jiang K's stir-fried pork with chili peppers is exceptionally delicious. I remember the first time Jiang K cooked. He forgot to wash his hands after cutting chili peppers and directly touched his eyes, causing him to tear up for a long time. When I found out, he still stubbornly insisted it was just a mistake. In the blink of an eye, the 19-year-old Jiang K has already transformed from a kitchen novice into Chef Jiang, capable of making many delicious dishes. Although only a few months have passed, I suddenly felt like crying. Jiang K, what's wrong, sis? I'm making your favorite stir-fried pork with peppers. It'll be ready soon. The young man was wearing a small pink apron tied around his waist. I was the one who tied that bow for him. Jiang K said the bows I tie look nice, so he asks me to tie one for him every day before cooking. Actually, I know, the bow is tied at the back of his waist. He can't even see it. he just wanted to cling to me for a while before cooking. Jiang K really liked it when I touched his hair, he said, this way. I feel like I have a home again. As he spoke, his deep, beautiful gaze met mine, as if trying to see into the depths of my heart. The emotions within were too heavy, so heavy that it felt as if I were his entire world. Jiang K is a very serious and focused person, so when I called him, he didn't turn around. Jiang K, I love you. I suddenly felt so sleepy, and just like that, I fell asleep, along with the unspoken words, I'll wait for you in the future, just like that. They vanished together from the world of 19-year-old Jiang K. Jiang K was making stir-fried pork with peppers. He had cooked this dish many times before. Jiang K clearly washed his hands after cutting the peppers, yet the tears kept flowing. They wouldn't stop. Song Mang had many questions about her husband. The first time they met, Mr. Jiang was driving a car that looked very expensive. His demeanor was also quite distinguished. Song Mang thought he must be a successful businessman. Yet upon seeing her for the first time, the seemingly composed Mr. Jiang couldn't stop wiping his tears. The temperament is also quite outstanding. This Mr. Jiang is rather peculiar. The first time they met, he called her sister. She ignored him, but he kept calling her that. Call her wife. He also said, you can call me whatever you like. I'll love it all. I really love it when you call me husband, big sister. Please don't ignore me, okay? Song Mang didn't remember ever calling him husband, let alone the fact that this Mr. Jiang seemed older than her. Song Mang felt like calling security. This Mr. Jiang had pursued Song Mang for a long time. For some reason, even though Song Mang found him strange, she still agreed. Because she thought someone who always wiped away tears and cried quietly in front of her couldn't be a bad person. Moreover, Mr. Jiang's stir-fried pork with chili was quite delicious and suited her taste. The wealthy always seem to have many eccentricities. Song Mang noticed that Mr. Jiang also had some quirks. However, compared to others, Mr. Jiang's quirks were relatively normal. For instance, Mr. Jiang is quite wealthy, yet he still enjoys cooking. It's strange, clearly. The watch on his wrist could buy a house, yet he insists on wearing the cheapest apron from the supermarket, the pink one, and he always makes Song Mang tie it into a bow for him. Mr. Jiang said the bow she tied looked pretty, but since it was tied at the back of her waist, how did Mr. Jiang see it? Also, Song Mang noticed that this Mr. Jiang liked to secretly eat steamed buns. Perhaps he was tired of gourmet delicacies. But why does he always feed her soup dumplings? By the way, Mr. Jiang also loves to show off. I still remember the first time they met. After Mr. Jiang had calmed down, he introduced himself to her without a hint of humility. They say he's successful in his career, with lots and lots of money, living in a very, very big house. He also said, Song Mang, my future is brilliant, radiant with glory. As he spoke, he spread his hands and made a gesture. Song Mang thought it was a bit silly, but it's still quite adorable. Song Mang felt that her husband harbored many secrets. Not only that, but she also sensed that Mr. Jiang was always deeply sorrowful. When asked about his troubled past, he would simply gaze at Song Mang, his eyes concealing a barely perceptible glimmer of hope. It's all in the past. From now on, He seemed to expect Song Mang to pick up on his words, yet she only stared at him blankly. Mr. Jiang wiped the corner of his eye and murmured to himself, it's fine. Another 4 years. It doesn't seem that long. No matter how long I have to wait for you, I'm willing. Song Mang finally fell in love with the always sorrowful Mr. Jiang. She also became pregnant with Mr. Jiang's child. Song Mang thought that from then on, Mr. Jiang would probably no longer be so sorrowful. Then, one day, she traveled back to the year when Mr. Jiang was at his most destitute. Her belly swollen with pregnancy. I woke up, opening my eyes. I saw Mr. Jiang. He had dark stubble and dark circles under his eyes, looking somewhat disheveled. I asked him, how long has it been since you slept? Not long. I held his hand. How long is not long? A little shorter than a lifetime, a little longer than tomorrow. I touched Mr. Jiang's wrist, only to find a scar still wrapped around it. I asked in confusion, why didn't I put the knife away? Jiang K froze in place. After a long while, he finally snapped out of it, burying himself in my arms and crying. His tears falling drop by drop. He got my clothes wet again. He's always like this. That's a very, very long story. You already know the first half of it, but after all, for years is just too hard to endure. I couldn't speak, so I just held him tighter. Jiang K, have I ever told you that I'll be waiting for you in the future? It's okay, I hear you now. In the end of the story, Mr. Jiang was no longer sad. A long time later, while soothing their child, Jiang K asked me, "So who fell in love with whom first?" I thought for a moment and said, "Honey, I don't know either." The movie ended, staring at the line on the screen. Love is the only thing that can transcend time and space. I thought, none of that matters. As long as we love each other, that's enough. The end. Extra story 1. Jiang K has turned bad. At 19, when I helped him, Jiang K was too shy to even look at me and could only helplessly cover his eyes with his hand. His face was flushed red, almost as if blood would drip from it. He said in a hoarse voice, "Enough." But Jiang K at 27, when he actively asked for my help, his dark eyes stared deeply and intently at my every move. He restrained his breathing, not the least bit shy, and no matter what, he would whisper in a low voice, "Not enough, faster." This pervert. Extra Chapter 2. Shenji was Jiang K's secretary. He had been working at Jiang Corporation since the year Jiang K made his fortune. Shenji had always known that his boss, President Jiang, was a workaholic, but he never imagined that someone could work every single day, without a single day off, and keep it up for 3 years, out of humanitarian concern, and also fearing that they might lose their jobs if the boss suddenly died. Shenji advised President Jiang to take a break. Unexpectedly, President Jiang paused for a moment and then agreed. He remembered it was New Year's Eve. Shenji had made plans with his girlfriend to watch fireworks together when he suddenly received a document from some company. It's urgent and requires President Jiang's signature. He cursed but had no choice but to contact President Jiang. He messaged President Jiang, but there was no reply. He messaged President Jiang, but there was no reply. Recalling Jiang K's workaholic nature, Shenji felt that he should go see the boss. He found the boss's spare key and entered the boss's house. As a working-class employee, Shenji's first reaction upon seeing such a large house was to curse the capitalists. His second thought was, who on earth would decorate a villa like this? It looks no different from a rented apartment. The interior decoration was also very simple, as cold as Mr. Jiang himself, even somewhat gloomy. It's strange to say, don't all rich people have extravagant lifestyles? Yet his boss seemed to have no personal life at all. Lost in these thoughts, Shenji walked into the only lit bathroom. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. Shenji knocked on the door, but no one answered. He called out for President Jiang, but there was no response. A sudden sense of foreboding washed over Shenji. He pushed the door open and froze in place. President Jiang slit his wrists. At this moment, outside the floor-to-ceiling window, New Year's Eve fireworks began to light up the sky. Shenji dialed the emergency number, for some reason. Even though he often cursed his boss during work, now, witnessing this starkly contrasting scene, Shenji couldn't help but sympathize with him. Truly pitiful, President Jiang was ultimately saved. On New Year's Eve, Shenji stayed at the hospital. He had thought he would be all alone, but his girlfriend came to keep him company. "I broke my promise. Aren't you mad, baby?" "Of course I am. But leaving you alone on New Year's Eve would be too pitiful." Shenji tightened his embrace around his beloved. In the hospital room, only Jiang K remained. He heard someone counting down, 3, 2, 1, outside the hallway. Another new year is about to arrive. Once again, he will be alone. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.